Hello and welcome to another instant photography related episode of My Cameras. Now I've progressed recently from the Polaroid Now, which is good and takes pretty reasonable pictures. There's a selfie taken on it a while back. I'll put a scan of this at the end of the video. And there's one I took on it of the current art project we have around Cambridge at the moment, Cows Around Cambridge. But I've now progressed from this, which is it's wonderfully automatic, but has all the quirks that you kind of seem to get with instant film, in that it needs a lot of light, and also it's seemingly good at big, bold things, but not great at detail. So yeah, I've progressed from that to this, the camera which I have already nicknamed the Beast. This is the Fuji Instax Wide 300, which is pretty much about the upper levels of how chemical instant photography goes. This, much as it looks like a Polaroid, is these days owned by a company from Holland called the Impossible Company. They took 1970s/80s Polaroid technology and just sort of bought it and made new cameras for it. These, however, from Japan, from Fuji, is a company in Japan that developed their own film, the Instax range of film. This is the box for the biggest one they do, the wide. And well, as I said, that was the size of it. This is the size of a, as again I'll put a scan of it at the end of the episode so you can see it better. But that's taken through its macro lens, so I had to get quite close to the camera, and it's also a flash photograph, so it's also quite brightly lit. It's debatable on amount of detail. I think it's getting more detail out of my face than the Polaroid Now. But then I've taken both of them around Cambridge this week and taken photographs of them, so you get an interesting comparison. And in a few days' time, I'm off to the north of England, so we'll do another comparison video when I'm up there. Yet this thing, unlike our friend here, which is very automatic, this thing has a degree of manual to it. There's a button on the back marked lighten and darken, which I found myself having to use at least once or twice. And not entirely sure what that does. Presumably it changes the shutter speed, because the iris is presumably of a fixed size. The film in here I have just finished, but as you've seen, that is a pack of 2. But that's how big the film is, and that hole there is how big the actual print is. So it's all very basic stuff, like it often is for an instant camera. There's nothing particularly exciting going on inside. One thing I do rather like about this is Fuji have taken the option of having the print come up the top. Now that is very good if, like me, you don't drive and you travel around by bike taking photographs, because then you can put it in your bike basket in front of you and it might sit there flapping away while it develops, but it doesn't really come to any harm, whereas this throws its photo out the front and also takes a lot longer to develop. This one I have a timer set on my phone to time 15 minutes, and also these need darkness to develop. They come out covered in a black screen. You've then got to wait about 10-15 minutes, then you pull the picture out and then you get your photograph. So this, I think it's dependent upon temperature really, about 90 seconds to 2 minutes for developing. And as I say, they pop out the top here. And well, here's some interesting comparisons again. I can't really account for lighting conditions because the weather's been a bit variable this week. This was an overcast day when I photographed this cow not too far from where I work on the Polaroid Now. Then I came back later that week when the Instax had arrived, and this was a bright sunny day. Also, the Instax's lens is not as wide angle, so you end up with a bit more of a sort of medium shot on that cow. I think though, on balance, it is bringing more detail out of the scene, even if the picture itself is darker. And then another interesting comparison is where I work at a college. The students have got this giant teddy bear which I keep moving around and trying to clean around, that's it from the Polaroid Now. Then on the Instax I set it to lighten, and it brought more detail out of the giant teddy. It has, however, rather strangely made it look as if it's dark outside, whereas you look on that one and you can actually see that it's light outside. They were both taken in the morning at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then finally, and one that proves what the Polaroid Now is good at, this is just across the breakfast table, my brother eating breakfast one morning, and that's come out really well because it's what this camera does really well. It's got a built-in flash. If your subject's just about a metre or two away, it can brighten up the subject with a flash and take a good picture. And as I say, what I do like about this is it's wonderfully automatic. You don't have to remember to press buttons and what have you. Another, I'm trying to find a particular photo. Yeah, there's a fine example of the difference between lighten and non-light. This is from the Cows Around Cambridge project. That is a cow they've covered with moss, and it's in the background, and that was taken with the lighten mode. This, however, was taken without the lighten mode, and it's suddenly swathed in shadows and looks really dark. But yeah, there you go. So I think we'll end this here, and I'll just finish on some scans of a few of the photos I've just shown you.